Hello friends, it's time for the show with the Big D energy! Unfortunately, it's only going to be a single episode this week because I'm really rather busy with CanJam Singapore. If you guys are there, do drop by to say hi. Anyways, let's get on with it. So today we have Flipears. Flipears is a brand that I first got to know many moons ago when I went to the November Hi-Fi show in Manila, Philippines. Going to the Philippines brings me many good memories such as Jollibee, the good folks there from the audio group serving fresh pour-over coffee while you get to indulge in listening to an extensive collection of audio gear. Anyways, Flipears is the first Filipino company to manufacture universal and custom IEMs from the Philippines. Flipears has very kindly loaned me a few of their recent models, but unfortunately I do not have enough time to give the whole lot an extensive listen, so let's just talk about the one that caught my eye the most first. Today we will be talking about the Flipears Artha. Because this is a loaner unit, I did not get a box, so there will be no unboxing. So first, build quality. I don't really need to elaborate much about the chassis of the Artha. It is breathtaking. I love the mother of pearl chips that have been encased in resin. This reminds me of all those beautiful Raden pieces from China where mother of pearl or abalone shells have been embedded into woodwork. Impressively, Flipears did this twice. Once more on the inner side of the IEM. Most manufacturers would cheap out on this and would just put the beautiful bits on the outside faceplate, but not the folks at Flipears. This is really quite stunning. For the sharp eye, you would have noticed by now that the nozzle is actually really huge. That is true. On my loaner Artha, it came with the Elitech's amazing Baroque ear tips that will fit very nicely. The Artha also included some switches for you to tweak to your heart's content. It is really simple and intuitive on the Artha, with switch 1 for bass while switch 2 augments treble. Personally, I like the configuration on switch 1 being off while switch 2 being turned on. Usually, I'm not a fan of switches, especially when they tend to overcomplicate things, but Flipears' integration is very intuitive. You know exactly what you are changing with each switch. Inside the Artha houses 8 balance armatures, 2 for sub-bass, 2 for bass, 2 for mids and 2 for highs. It features a 4-way crossover and all balance armature setup, but does that really mean a metallic tone? We will find out more. So the Artha comes in a 2-pin termination and the cable provided is quite a pretty one, made of 8-core silver-plated copper. The one on this demo is terminated to 4.4 balanced. One important thing to note is that the Artha comes in both universal and custom. On the whole, the Artha is a solidly built IEM with a chassis that feels solid. Some CIEM manufacturers opt for a thinner shell construction, but it isn't the case on the Artha. This feels pretty solid. Next up, let's talk about sound. Because there are switches involved, I will just measure the Artha stock with all the switches off, so the graph here will be based on that. Just keep in mind that if you want more bass or more treble, just flip the switches on. I rarely say that I like switches, but props to Flipears where they have innovated with authenticity. You get a sound that is all very usable with all 4 permutations rather than some of those that mention that they can do a million tunings but with only one actual listenable tuning. I believe that true value lies in features that truly work and not just boxes being checked. For this review, I used the Lotu Paul Gold Touch Titanium as well as the Luxury and Precision W4 as my choice of DAP and dongle. Both managed to drive the Artha well with good headroom as well. The Artha is a very well extended IEM that gives you a very deep perception of bass as well as excellent extension in the treble realm. I would say that the Artha is a natural warm IEM that takes a balanced approach towards the mids with extension available at the flick of a switch. Interestingly, although this is a full balance armature setup, it is surprisingly dynamic with only hints of it coming from the bass. The sub-bass rumble is present and nice, but not as natural as a larger dynamic driver reverberating. I like how the Artha delivers resolution while maintaining a rather smooth character that is almost effortless. Bass on the Artha is full and beautifully articulate. The way the 2 BAs for sub and 2 BAs for bass interact with each other is actually pretty seamless. I like the overall intensity of bass when the music calls for it. Earlier I did mention that bass isn't as natural as a dynamic driver, and that remains true especially when trying to render bass with balance armatures, but I think Flipears has done a very decent job ensuring bass sounds similar to how a dynamic driver would render. Details in the sub and bass regions are exceptional with very good tonality. It provides a very dynamic and full sound and can be increased by turning switch 1 on. Talking about mid-range, it is just slightly recessed as you can see in the graph, but in reality they take a natural space in the sonic scale. They are not too recessed in reality. I like how liquid and smooth the mid-range is, especially when it comes to vocals. There is still very good separation between instruments. No weight is full, but not leaning to full warm territory and yet maintains strong clarity. Instruments have excellent separation while maintaining the full sounding nature of the Artha. Treble extension is intricately done and is a surprise to me because there are no Sony electrostatic drivers used. I found them beautifully airy and effortless, just like how revs are done in a rotary engine, absolutely smooth. They are in no way rough sounding but still manage to carry exceptional levels of detail. I was lost in the music on this pair for a while before I knew it about 2 hours have passed. What was interesting is that I did not find it fatiguing. Also, just to be reminded, there is an option to switch up the treble with the second switch. Moving on to Soundstage. When it comes to width and height, pretty darn wide and tall sounding like that of a grand concert hall. I really enjoyed the scale of things with this earphone, and when it comes to depth and positioning, depth is also great, especially when you pair it with the excellent dynamics from the bass. This really adds a 3D-like quality to the overall sound. Positioning is also seriously pinpoint as well. Next up, let's talk about some comparisons. So one of the earphones that I really adored in the past and actually still own is the 64 Audio Trio. So versus that, the Trio is another standout IM from the famed 64 Audio, and to mention the Artha in the same breath is very interesting because the Trio costs a bit more. I like the Trio's bass a bit better than the Artha as the naturalness from the resonance of the DD in the Trio is exemplary. The Artha hits back by having a very refined mid-range and treble, making an overall more complete package, and because of that has been my choice for the past few weeks. Next up, versus the Fir Audio XE6. So I do have an XE6 custom that I never really use much. Personally, I don't really like it all that much. So the Artha walks over the XE6 in all aspects. Based on the XE6 is looser and more prominent in quantity compared to the Artha, but the XE6 isn't as defined as the Artha. Basically, I found they are based on the Artha to have a lot more details than the XE6. On the XE6, it is just rumbly, but it is just a bit too much rumbly and not that much details. Mid-range on the XE6 is also a little smeary due to the large quantity of bass, and separation compared to the Artha is a level below. Lastly, the EST driver in the XE6 that is supposed to carry the treble energy isn't enough to balance out the rest of the frequencies. Needless to say, I prefer the Artha, and to accomplish this at this price point, it is sublime. Next up, onto what I like about the Artha. I absolutely adore the signature on the Artha. It is dynamic, high resolution and concise sounding, easily suitable for a large range of genres. Together with the ability to augment bass and treble makes it very interesting. Its smoothness and effortlessness in the treble region is also fantastic. Lastly, I'm a sucker for things made of pearl, so the faceplate is absolutely beautiful as well. But not everything is perfect on the Artha, as with all earphones. The large nozzle can be problematic for folks with a smaller ear canal, causing these folks to have a rather shallow fit IM, and some people might not like that. And finally, in conclusion, if I'm in the market for a custom IEM, I would strongly consider the Artha. I really enjoyed this pair, and the feeling is quite bittersweet as I have to return them to Flipears very soon. So is this IEM a must buy, sure buy, should buy, consider, or give them to your enemies? I would say if you can afford the Flipears Artha, this is a must buy. I know it's not the cheapest IEM that I've been recently doing, like all the cheapy chifi stuff, but when things are good, things are good, and you know, this IEM is a delight to listen to and has been one of my more enjoyable listens in 2024. I'm quite sad that I have to return them to Flipears, but hey, that's life, right? With that said, I hope you guys like this episode of the Super Audio Show. If you guys see me at CanJam, please drop by to say hi. I am very happy to meet everyone. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. A like would be great, a subscribe would be absolutely fantastic because you guys are fantastic people. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon.